Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The time is now 8:01. Today's date is Wednesday, December 18th, 2024, and welcome to the town meeting for the Town Council of Forest Heights, Maryland. This meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Council President McDonald,
Here.
Councilmember Little,
Present.
Councilmember Brownson,
Here.
Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Hines,
Present.
Councilmember Noble,
Here.
Mayor Lilly.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will move to the next item on our agenda. We'll now have a moment of silence. Thank you. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. All right, next we have the meeting minutes, which were distributed in advance. Are there any changes or corrections to the meeting minutes for December 2nd, 2024? Councilmember Brownson.
I had some, the meeting minutes, do not have a discussion, and it does not have, the approval of the minutes from December the 2nd. We never approved those minutes from December the 2nd. We took it out of the consent agenda and moved it up, but we never went over the minutes from December the 2nd. And these minutes do not have any discussion or anything in them. And also, we never approved the minutes that were from April 4th and all those other minutes that were in procedure. We never went over and approved those either.
So for the minutes for December 2nd, we have the motions and the votes. Is it true that we're missing the item that was mentioned, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, may we have Councilmember Brownson repeat what it is that she's indicating is missing?
Yes, Councilmember Brownson.
The minutes do not have any discussion in them. And they have that the minutes from November the 20th minutes were never approved. It said that it was moved to out of consent agenda to the regular agenda, but we never approved those. And then the November 20th minutes have all the meeting minutes from previous minutes and just have them as procedural, but we never approved those.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. O'Connor.
discussions are not included in the meeting minutes. We've covered this topic before several times. And the minutes were approved following Robert's Rules of Order. Once all amendments were offered and no other changes were made to those minutes, the minutes were accepted as is, and we moved on from there. So all minutes are approved. Minutes do not have to be approved by a motion, so that they were approved by accepting all amendments and taking the minutes from there. The,
That is not correct.
the, uh, they were removed from the consent agenda and pushed out the other way. So other than that, the minutes were accepted and we're good to go.
That.
Just a moment,
I
Councilmember Bronson.
Yeah.
Just a moment, Councilmember Bronson. Mr. Best, can you just repeat once more for the record, the method of approving the minutes by putting them out in advance and then asking if there are any corrections before approving them?
Yeah, actually, I looked that up in Robert's Rules a week or two ago, and it's true. You don't have to entertain a motion. It's not out of order to do so, but you don't have to. The procedure that you've been articulating is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Councilmember Brownson.
And in Robert's rule, I did look it up and I have to have it written down. It says that in the minutes, whenever you have a guest, and we had a guest in one of those meetings, I think Greenwell Associate was here. In the minutes, it should list the who was the guest and the subject of their conversation. And that is not in the minutes, and it is in Robert's rule. So they are not correct. So I beg the difference.
Mr. Mayor, that,
Mr. O'Connor.
that would not be a discussion. That would just be a subject matter as to what was actually within the agenda. And that would just be an amendment to the minutes and a procedural change. So if the council member is offering a procedural change to have the guest and what they presented, which is documented in the agenda already, move to the minutes, we can easily do that, amend the minutes and move on from there.
Well, I'm not
Just a
offering the
moment,
suggestion.
just a moment, Councilmember Brownson. Okay, so we can take a suggestion to add the content from the presentation. And if so approved, we can move on. Councilmember Brownson, would you like to offer
No.
adding the subject matter to the
No, I'm
minutes?
not offering that. I'm saying that the minutes are incorrect according to Robert's rules. I don't think I need to offer it. I think the minutes need to be correct.
Okay, so as it relates to discussion, discussion is captured in the full recording, which includes audio and video and the discussion. The minutes can capture the motions, the votes, and who's present, which it does. So if there's no further offerings for changes, I will ask Madam Clerk to, well, actually, I ask that we approve the minutes and that we'll have a vote from each member to approve the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, the minutes are amended to include the Greenwell discussion.
To include what?
All right, thank you. Mr. Best, is there any, how do we move past the impasse for the minutes at this point? We have disagreement on how to amend them. I think they reflect what is required. What else do we need to do in order to move past these minutes?
If you feel there's an impasse, just take a vote. Otherwise, yeah, Robert's Rules and state law do not require minutes to reiterate everything that's said. And it sounds like there's a synopsis of what was discussed by Greenwell is going to be reflected in minutes, so probably should move on. Thank you.
Okay, I move that we adopt the minutes as amended, including topic of discussion from Greenwell. And Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll? Is there a second? My apologies. What's that? Council, yes.
Second.
It has been moved and second that we adopt the minutes from December 2nd as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Noble. Councilmember Little.
Yes.
Councilmember Brownson.
No.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
5 yeses, 1 no. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will move to our approval of the main agenda. I move that we approve the main agenda. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? There's a motion on the floor, but is there a second? We'll open it for discussion. Is there a
Yes.
second?
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's main agenda. Discussion. Councilmember Brownson.
I would like to add, resolution 24-24 to the agenda so we can discuss that again.
Well, so for tonight's agenda, we don't have anything under consent. We're going to discuss each of the items.
Pardon me?
You're saying to pull it into the main agenda for discussion?
Yes,
Resolution.
resolution.
Oh, you're offering to pull one from the past. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Mm.
Okay.
Resolution 24-24. That's the ombudsman resolution that was passed. I would like to add that to the agenda.
Okay, so this is one that was passed previously, and you're adding it to the agenda
Discussion.
well, if it's been passed, it doesn't come back on the agenda unless it's going to be, it can't come back on the agenda if it's been passed unless it's being reconsidered.
Well, I would like to have it suspended or reconsidered, whatever the terminology is for it.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
That resolution's already been passed. There's a resolution that's already been advertised to the public related to the ombudsman here. This resolution itself would suffice as the actual topic of discussion. If there was resolution 2424, the public has not had a chance to, we have not advertised it. The public does not have a chance to consume that particular resolution. We would also need to get copies of it as well for the rest of the council and then add it to the agenda. But beyond that, there's a resolution here. So if it wanted to come up as a topic of discussion, it could be brought up under the actual resolution appointing a new ombudsman there. But a new resolution would be the topic of conversation that would basically supersede resolution 24-24.
That's not. the
Just a moment, Ms. Councilmember. Thank you. Just one moment. Just one moment. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Best, could you opine, sir?
I think there's some confusion going on between the ITA and Councilwoman Brownson.
Exactly.
Resolution 2424 was the omnibus,
Right,
not the ombudsman
right.
resolution.
Okay, so we're on discussion, and so there's a motion to reconsider resolution 24-24.
Yes, because I think some things have happened with this resolution that needs to be discussed. Yes.
All right, well, if you make a formal motion,
I would like to add resolution 2424 to the agenda for discussion.
Point of inquiry. May I ask, Mr. Mayor, did Councilwoman Brownson vote for that resolution 2424?
Yes,
Well, you're not going to be able to reverse it because you voted for it.
I want to
Unless you
discuss
amend
it.
You wish to amend it?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
okay, there's been a motion to reconsider resolution 24-24.
I
Is there,
second. I second.
it has been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to reconsider resolution 24-24. All in favor? Are there any opposed? I oppose. Madam Clerk, please call the roll for this vote.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Abstain.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember, excuse me, Council President McDonald,
No.
Mayor Lilly.
No. Councilmember Kennedy is also online.
Councilmember Kennedy, are you there?
I am here, thank you. So this is to amend it. So how are we amending it since that's what the vote or what's on the table?
Excuse me, Councilmember Kennedy, the motion on the floor is to amend the agenda to add it for the agenda for discussion for reconsideration.
But did I not just hear the attorney ask Councilwoman Brownson if she wanted to amend it and she said yes?
Yes.
Okay, so how are we amending it, please?
Well, we're not amending it at this time. We're just placing it on the agenda. If there's a vote happening now to amend the agenda to place it on the agenda for discussion or reconsideration. Is that clear? The motion is to amend the agenda to add it for discussion or reconsideration.
But
It's not.
what I just heard is basically it already went through. So y'all trying to amend it so that way we can put it on here, but I would still like to know what the amendment's going to be so I can vote with certainty about this amendment.
Well, Councilmember Kate, I don't know what the amendment's going to be.
Okay, tell you what, I abstain.
But Councilmember
I
Brownson.
abstain.
Okay.
Since
Madam Clerk, please call the vote count on this motion.
2 abstentions, 2 noes, 2 yeses. The motion fails.
I believe there were 3 yeses.
Forgive me. Forgive me, Mr. Mayor. 3 yeses, 2 noes, 2 abstentions. The motion carries. Fails. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we now have a motion on the floor to approve the main agenda. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I oppose.
Okay, we have an opposition or opposed from Councilmember Brownson and Councilmember Hines. Do we have any other opposed or yays? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll for this motion? And this is for approval of the main agenda.
Councilmember Brownson,
No.
Councilmember Hines,
No.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
No.
Councilmember Kennedy.
I'm sorry, y'all. Can I ask a question for my clarification? Was the last thing we just voted on, was the opposition to take it out of a consent agenda so that way we can talk about it?
Councilmember Kennedy, no, there's no consent agenda items tonight. That was simply, that was a motion to reintroduce and reconsider and amend the agenda to add it. So that motion failed. Now we're voting on the motion to approve the main agenda with no amendments.
Okay, yes.
Your indulgence, Mayor. We just got to catch up because of the constant changes.
Councilmember Kennedy. Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
4 yeses, 3 noes. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll have council member and mayor reports, and we'll begin with Council President in Ward 1.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. One thing I just wanted to share is myself, I'm not sure if Mr. Holland is on the line, but we had an opportunity to meet with Rhonda Dallas and her team over at the community garden to go over the development and creation of a mural for the community garden. And they are from the Arts Maryland.
Prince George's County Arts and Humanities Council.
Yes. And it looks very promising. There is an opportunity for us to put some beautification to the community garden. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. Looking forward also to get some other things done with upcoming groundbreaking for our trails, parks and trails over at Bell Acres. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Next, we'll move to Council Member Little for Ward 1.
Good evening. I would just like to wish the town a happy holidays and to also just let everybody know to stay safe and be aware of your surroundings. And I look forward to seeing you at future celebratory events that we have.
Thank you, Council Member Little. Next, we'll go to Council Member Brownson from Ward 2.
My report is that I'm scheduled to have a Ways and Means Advisory Committee meeting on the 4th Saturday in January. That's January 25th at 11 a.m. And it's going to be here in the municipal building, and it also will be available via Zoom. So I want residents to come out and listen to the treasurer should be there and just listen and give their feedback in that advisory committee meeting. And I also want to say to the police department, I want to thank them for their diligence in the incident in Ward 2 on Monday. So thank them for their diligence in that, and we appreciate you all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Next, we'll go to Councilmember Kennedy from Ward 2.
Pretty much piggybacking on what Councilwoman Little and Councilwoman Brownson said. We do appreciate, the entire staff. Definitely, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't know about. But I want everybody to have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe. Make sure you are aware of your surroundings, and especially when you're out shopping, and don't give people additional reasons to try and do anything negative. But stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Next, we'll go to Ward 3, Councilmember Hines.
Good evening. Happy holidays. First, I'd like to say that on December 8th, we had a tree lighting, and it went really well. And I just want to thank the residents that came out. And I also want to thank the 2 coordinators or our committee, Monica Lawson and Darlene Cooney. You did a fabulous job. Thank you. Also, I want to talk about the next thing is the decorating, for the houses in the town of Forest Heights. I believe the last day for that is December 20th. And please, we have some homes that are really decorating, so please enter if you can. Next, I'd like to talk about our party, our holiday party for our children. Please come out It's on the 21st of December from 3 to 6 at the Town Hall. It's going to be lots of fun. You're going to get to see some people. Yeah, it's real fun. And last, I would like to just discuss one more thing. We're going to have an election next year, and I just want to make everybody know that it's going to be a mayoral, or it's going to be a mayor and council election. And if we can get those signs, get started, however we need to do it so that, we know that it is going to be very important for everyone to come out and vote. So as I said, happy holidays. Stay safe.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Next, we'll go to Councilmember Noble from Ward 3.
Good evening, all. Well, I'll just say happy holidays. I have a whole list of things, but since everyone's in a good spirit, I'm going to just leave it there for now, okay? So happy holidays and everyone be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. So to the residents of Forest Heights, I would like to say that last evening, our town was shaken by a tragic incident that occurred on Seneca Drive. 2 individuals lost their lives senselessly. And on behalf of the entire community and the council, we would like to extend our condolences to the victims and to the families who've been affected by this incident. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone who's affected, including the residents who live in that vicinity and in our community and are impacted during this time. We want to assure everyone in the community that safety and the well-being of residents is first and foremost on our minds. It's the most important part of what we do. Every decision that we make and every officer who serves in Forest Heights is committed to keeping the town safe, secure, and a peaceful place to live, work, and raise our families. Now, the Forest Heights Police Department is in close partnership with Prince George's County and that police department working tirelessly to investigate this crime and hold those who are responsible accountable. This is an isolated incident based on the evidence at this time, and there is no known ongoing threat to the community. We'd also like to add that our officers are fully mobilized and they've increased patrols in the area where this incident occurred. They are remaining vigilant to ensure that our streets are safe and protected. We also recognize that incidents like this can create fear and uncertainty, and that is why transparency, responsiveness, and action are key for our leadership in law enforcement. Our goal is not only to resolve this case swiftly, but to continue building trust and fostering a sense of security for everyone in Forest Heights. To that end, I ask for your help. If you have any information about this incident, I deeply and strongly encourage you to reach out anonymously via Crime Solvers at www.pgcrimesolvers.com or through the P3 Tips app or by calling 1-866-411-TIPS or 1-866-411-8477. So you can reference case number 240-075138 when providing your tip anonymously. Your input is valuable, and if it helps to bring this incident to a closure, the victims' families, we know, will be grateful for your submission. And Forest Heights is more than just a town. It is a community where neighbors look out for one another. We watch out for one another, where we work together to overcome challenges, and where safety and unity define our identity. So let us come together now, even in this difficult time, supporting one another as we move forward, stronger and more determined than ever to protect the place that we call home. And I would also like to join the council members in wishing everyone a safe and happy holiday, both Christmas, New Year's, and whatever other holiday that you may celebrate this year, especially. With that, I'll also offer thanks to our police department for the work they do. I visited them on the scene yesterday and spent time while they were out there responding and coordinating to keep residents safe and informed. At this time, we'll move to the next item on our agenda, which is public period. Is there anyone in the audience or online who wishes to speak during public period this evening? Okay, well, hearing none, public period is now closed. Next, we will move into resolutions for action. And the first resolution on tonight's agenda is Resolution 75-24. And this is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, to provide non-monetary holiday bonuses in the form of paid time off. I move that we adopt Resolution 75-24.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 75-24. Discussion. And I'll just provide a brief overview. Based on the last meeting that we had, the resolution has been changed so that it simply offers one floating holiday consisting of 8 hours of administrative staff and 12 hours for sworn officers not in an administrative role to be used before January 31st, 2025. And this is only applicable to fiscal year 2025. Is there any other comment from staff to clarify changes or the purpose for Resolution 75-24? Okay, hearing none. Councilmember Noble.
Yes, I know at the last meeting, the discussion, I believe was the council president that brought it up. The question, was this discussed with all employees or just department heads? So I guess we go back to, were the employees asked about the holiday?
Mr. O'Connor, can you answer on this question? And just before you do, I'll add that the way that the discussion began was looking at the resources the town has. And as a council and the mayor, we assess our financial position and we offer what we believe we can do sustainably, that both offers something to the residents and then takes into consideration the resources we have available based on where we are. Mr. O'Connor?
This change was not discussed with, I would say, a majority of staff. I know I spoke with some of our staff that were involved with it, but this really came down to a business decision related on what we can afford to do and if we can afford to do anything. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Is there further discussion on Resolution 75-24? Councilmember Brownson?
Just want, what's the difference between the regular staff 8 hours and the sworn officers 12 hours? Is that because they would do 12-hour shifts?
Yes, that's correct, Councilmember Brownson. Councilmember Kennedy?
So I know one of the concerns brought up last time was, I guess doing this before the fiscal year or even before the calendar year. Another option could be, I know I probably was one of the ones to suggest the end of January, but the other option that we can have, because we have Christmas and also New Year coming up, we could do like a half staff each day. That way it would be utilized before the end of this calendar year. So just FYI.
Councilmember Kennedy, could you repeat that? I just want to make sure I understood.
So I know I brought up possibly extending it to the end of January because that was one of the concerns last meeting that, this was brought up sort of on the fly toward the end of the year anyway. But what we can do if that is a concern is do half staff. So half the staff off, an additional day, let's say Christmas Eve, and then whoever's off Christmas Eve would work New Year's Eve. So that way half staff, and by the end of this calendar year, everyone will have used this extra day.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Council President McDonald?
I just want to make a point that could we think about this some more in terms of supporting our staff with bonuses. So I just wanted to put that on our radar, looking forward to consider some way of thinking about it a little more. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Councilmember, did you have something, Councilmember Noble?
I guess I'm getting confused about this whole thing. So because I want to understand, Council President McDonald, you want to put this on hold, or we're gonna vote on this?
Can I say something?
Council President
No,
McDonald?
I'm saying moving forward, if we could have a more, I guess, intention around giving bonuses to our staff
For the next
for the
fiscal
next
year?
fiscal year, not
Okay,
right now.
okay,
no,
okay.
Moving forward.
And my last comment, Mayor, I think you said December, they had to December 2025, but it's January 2025.
Yes, January
Thank-
31st,
Okay.
2025.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Little?
Just quick question. Are the bonuses already budgeted or allocated in the budget for the year? Or they're just something?
No, there are no bonuses budgeted there are no budget. There's a tongue twister. There are no bonuses budgeted for this year allocated, correct? Councilmember Bronson?
I'm still back to the thing where I know it's no monetary thing, but if a person is off, they take an administrative leave, then that equate to dollars. And there's nothing in here about the dollar value of in any of this. But anytime you off work or working, it has a dollar value. And it's not in here.
Thank you, Councilmember Bronson. Councilmember Hines?
I just wanted to ask the question. So this is dealing with all the employees, correct? Suppose some of the employees haven't been here long enough to get that. I mean, I know somebody said, I never knew that you could donate some of your hours to give to. I didn't know that that could be done. But yeah, that's my question, so even if someone just started, they get this, how do they do it? What?
Mr. O'Connor, could you answer on that question, sir?
Yeah, the town would be awarding an additional floating or additional holiday. It's a floating holiday. So in this sense, it's administrative leave on behalf of the town. They wouldn't need to have a leave balance in order to utilize this because it would be considered just a floating holiday. Basically more time off. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Bronson?
Legal. Is this legal in a government facility? Is this legal?
Well, I'm going to pass that to Mr. Best. Yes, I believe, but he's going to confirm or deny.
It's legal and there's a recital. This is a long-standing practice. Maybe not the floating holiday paid time off, but actual monetary bonuses have been something this town has done since well in the early 2000s.
But
Councilmember Bronson?
so, I understand that we usually give cash bonuses over the time and it had dollar value to it and things like this. That's why I'm saying this, to me, is way off key because it doesn't have any dollar values of associated with it. And it's just doesn't seem all the way right because there's no dollar value associated with it. And then some people are getting 12 hours and some people getting 8 hours. I mean, it's just doesn't seem right.
Thank you for your input, Councilmember Bronson. Councilmember Noble?
Okay. And is there any stipulation, say someone leaves prior to using their, are we going to pay them? Or, because then we go back to dollars and cents, right? Or will they?
Well, in
just
that
lose it?
scenario, they could use it. If they give a notice, they can use it during the period they give notice, if that is more days than 1 day. All right. Well, we've had significant discussion on Resolution 75-24. There is a motion on the floor to adopt. And so, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
No.
Councilmember Brownson,
No.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
No.
Councilmember Noble,
No.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
3 yeses, 4 nos, the motion fails.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will have Resolution 76-24. This is a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Forest Heights, Maryland, consenting to and approving the appointment of a speed monitoring system program ombudsman and a speed camera program administrator. I move that we adopt Resolution 76-24. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 76-24. Discussion. And if we could please get an overview of the resolution from Chief Reese.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this resolution is basically just realigning and actually naming by resolution the ombudsman, which that has to be named by resolution. Obviously, we had to do some I guess personnel changes, and Deputy Chief Banton, he did go through the training, and so now he has the training to be the program manager that oversees the speed camera administrator. So those will be just the two changes.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Any other notes from either Mr. Best or Mr. O'Connor on Resolution 76-24 before I turn it over to discussion from council? Okay, Councilmember Brownson, go to you first.
I have two questions. PFC Coleman, he's replacing whom?
So what we're doing now, so it's been kind of like a floating job. As you remember, prior to this fiscal year, it was someone else. But we realigned that that's no longer in the budget, so now we're bringing someone in staff. So it was Govan at first, now it's going to be Coleman.
Okay, and I have another, on here, it doesn't say the hourly rate that he's gonna be paid.
So it was at first, that position was normally paid as a part-time person. This will be an additional duty to Officer Coleman with no additional pay.
What? Wow, okay.
Councilmember Noble.
Chief, I know it's no conflict for the officer to hold more than one position, but is there a conflict in this position? Because that's what this position,
So the only thing is as the speed camera law as it is written, the ombudsman serves as a third party. They cannot be involved in any approval of any citations. Currently, if this resolution is approved, he would not be able to approve any citations. So if that will be the issue. So, and it has to be, normally the ombudsman we want them to have to be sworn, to have certain rights to, look up tags or anything like that. But that will be the only thing that he would not be able to approve citations that it will have to fall on the rest of the officers.
Thank you, Chief Reese. I'm going to go to Council President McDonald. I'll come to Councilmember Brownson.
So Chief Reese, this is a grant, right?
No, this pertains to our speed camera program. So within the speed camera law, we have to have two things. We have to appoint a speed camera administrator. That is a person that oversees our speed camera program. They have to go through training with certified by Maryland Police Training Commission every 2 years. And then you have to have what is called a a designee or ombudsman is what we call it, is that is a person that looks at it to see if any erroneous violations happens in within the speed camera program. So basically, just in layman's terms, if a citizen gets a speed camera citation, they submit it and say, hey, there might be some technical issues wrong with my citation. That ombudsman will look at it to see if the speed camera program is doing anything wrong. If they have the power to dismiss or keep that citation going. So that's what the ombudsman does.
So follow up, is there a budget attached to this?
So there used to be, not in this budget, not in the current budget. There used to be in the prior fiscal year, there was a budget for ombudsman. This budget that we're in now, there is no budget for ombudsman. They took the position out.
Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson.
I'm still trying to figure out how an officer gonna work additional 20 hours without additional pay. That doesn't seem legal.
Well, he's not a working addition. That was what was allocated for last fiscal year when the ombudsman was kind of a third party. There wasn't a police officer here in the town. They looked at it, but that was the max that they can work is 20 hours. Now, Officer Coleman, he is familiar with the program. With anything regarding the pay, that will probably be our treasurer question to him.
Okay, but they work 12-hour shifts already as police officers.
So currently, Officer Coleman, he works 8-hour shift. He's like our administrative person.
Okay.
Officer Coleman is the one that does the town's payroll.
Okay.
He does all of the administrative functions. So we're just adding another administrative function to his current duties.
Oh, so he doesn't work the 12-hour shift like
No,
the regular
ma'am.
officers?
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you for your questions, Councilmember Brownson. Thank you, Chief Reese. Is there any further discussion on Resolution 76-24? Councilmember Little.
So if it doesn't take up the whole 20 hours, like how much more work would this be in this position for him?
So it all depends on the monthly workload. So it could get hectic. Depends on how many citizens submits, a request for reconsideration for the citation. So it can go up. So if you're familiar with when we submit our reports for the ombudsman report for the month, it just depending on how many people send it in. The town in the past has designated as kind of a part-time position, and that's why they did it at a maximum of 20 hours during that week. But we really didn't see that much going up to then. But it's just we don't know. It's just the estimate.
Has this position been discussed with Officer Coleman? Is this something that he wants to take on?
Well,
Just asking because of the no pay. That's
well, nobody wants to take additional duties without additional pay. But I believe that it's been in the current state of the town's financial, that I think we all have taken on additional duties. He's a police officer, but he's doing payroll for the town. So I think we all have kind of strapped our bootlaces and kind of just trucked on.
Thank you, Councilmember Little. Councilmember Noble, my apologies.
Last question. Do we have a backup? I mean, will there be a backup? Say, Officer Coleman, or he leaves, or he wins the lottery. Let's
Not
stay on the
leaves.
positive. Well, let's say he wins the lottery.
I'll be back in front of you to appoint another ombudsman.
Is it a cost for training though?
No. So doing this, I used to be the ombudsman, so I pretty much know what it is. You just have to have a working knowledge on how the speed camera program works. Obviously, we prefer to be a police officer because as a police officer, you have certain rights that you can look up NBA records. But other than that, no, really kind of common sense.
Thank you. Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes, I actually have at least two questions. Do we have an accounts payable person?
Yes.
would they generally do the payroll?
No.
And we have a team taking care of the account.
Yeah, the payroll is an administrative and HR, well, it's an HR and administrative function.
Okay, so now, all right, back to the topic and questions at hand. So is this officer going to do an additional 20 hours on top of the hours that they work, or are they going to take 20 hours out of the week that they would be doing other things and do whatever is necessary for the position of the ombudsman?
I'll let Chief Reese answer.
So it would just be tied into their current work, depending on the workload of the side of the request coming in. Obviously, if it is that is strenuous on the officer, obviously he will have to come for me. He works directly for me anyway. Then I would adjust his schedule and adjust his workload. But looking at it, well, I do know that the town is trying to, we're increasing our speed cameras. But if that does become a topic, we would just adjust his his workload, to make sure that we are adhering to the ombudsman schedule, that we have to respond back to the request.
Yes, I understand that because, like you said, originally it was allocated 20 hours, but there are no objections from citizens that have gotten tickets. Then he may not work 20 hours toward doing work dealing with being an ombudsman. So, but because I think some people are thinking that on top of, let's say, a 40-hour, quote unquote, 40-hour work week, that we're asking him to do 60 hours for 40 hours worth of pay. And I'm just want to clarify that, that you are going to shift the workload so he's not being asked or forced or voluntold to do 60 hours for 40 hours pay.
Yes, sir. You're correct.
I appreciate it. Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Thank you, Chief Reese. Is there any further discussion on Resolution 76-24? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Abstain.
Councilmember Little,
Abstain.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
5 yeses, 2 abstentions. The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will have Resolution 77-24. This is an emergency resolution to amend the fiscal year 24-25 budget. I move that we adopt Resolution 77-24. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 77-24. And we have Mr. Frankenfield online. Sir, if you could give a brief overview of the budget amendment attached to Resolution 77-24, sir.
Yes, happy to, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you, we have probably our second or third budget revision for this fiscal year. The key thing that we're adjusting here as far as the line items, if you look to page 3, you can see all the specific lines that we're adjusting. In our budget process, we come up with our 25 budget before we're 100% closed out on fiscal year 24. So most of these items, we're adjusting the available grant balances. We've had the opportunity to reconcile and report on the grants that we didn't have the timing to do prior to drafting the current year's budget. So basically that's items 1, 2, 3, 4. And then as we start with item 5 and move forward, we've looked at our year-to-date spending trends, identified some needs to revise the budget. That encompasses 5, 6, 7 I want to talk about for a moment. In the fall, the town had its annual workman's comp audit. What that encompasses is the vendor reviews, the payroll records, the staff records. Coming out of the audit, the town received an amended bill pertaining to fiscal year 24 of $49,000 that we didn't foresee coming. So that's the biggest surprise that we didn't account for in drafting the fiscal year 25 budget. But we do need to create the appropriation. The town had the service, we had the coverage. Unfortunately, we just have to revise the budget and move on. But that's the biggest surprise that we weren't ready for. 8 and 9 are creating some appropriations that we didn't identify in the fiscal year 25 budget. 10 and 11 are to incorporate in the 25 budget 2 new grant awards that we've been notified of over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks this month. So I'll stop there and entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Frankenfield. I'll go to Council President and then Council Member Noble.
Hi, Mr. Frankenfield. So let's see here. It says that the town is experiencing salary savings due to unfilled general government positions, allowing for those appropriations to be reallocated. Can you
Yep.
show me where those reallocations are?
So for some of the items, so like number 6, we didn't pull from reserves in revising the budget. We just moved the salary savings from general government salaries to pay for the phones. We did the same thing in item 5, where the copier costs, we needed to reallocate funds so that we had enough to cover our contracts. We took it out of general government savings. So that's where we didn't fill those positions like we anticipated with the budget. So there's some room there to reallocate costs around, if that answers your question.
Hmm.
Do you have any follow-ups, Council President?
Not right now.
Okay, Council Member Noble.
Yes, my question is with adjustment number 2 for the Cree Drive, $200,000. Was I assume in the budget it said it was a grant. So did we not get that money, or why are we adjusting that?
So we had a hurry up and spend at the end of fiscal year 24 that we went to the funder and invoiced. So the grant's $500,000. Grant's intact. We hurried up and spent and invoiced the funder $250 at the end of fiscal year 24. So we've already used that money and that spending. We've been paid on it. But what we don't have is we don't have $450 to spend and receive this year. So we're down to $250. It's just an adjustment, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense. So do we have a I guess the backup information, how the money was spent for Cree Drive. And then the other question was on the hiring grant, number 4, the cops hiring grant. That was another decrease of 25,000.
Yes.
Again, where's the backup? I guess I need to see these numbers. I mean, it's nice on this piece of paper, but how did we come to this? Like, when was the spending? When was it short? When did we hurry and spend something? Where is that documented?
Yeah, we can put that together for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. Councilmember Brownson.
Yes, Mr. Frankenfield, I have a question on the budget summary adjustment page. And you got general government, $40,000 adjustment. And I remember looking at so this is an adjustment for FY 24 and you making and pulling it over to 25. So are you saying that general administration overspent by $40,000 in FY 24?
No, so we're talking about 25 tonight. So this table reflects the left-hand column, adopted budgeted amount. That was where we started the 25 budget. And then the summary of all those items on the prior page runs through the adjustment column.
I'm having a hard time understanding what you're saying. Are you too close to the speaker or something?
Oh, is that any better?
No.
Just a moment.
So-
Mr. Saunders, maybe we'll get him to adjust the base down just a bit.
And while they're doing that, I just, in reference to this question, I remember looking at the fourth quarter budget for FY 24. And I looked on the general administration and one line item was overspent by $30,000. And that's why I'm asking about this general $40,000 adjustment. Is that coming from FY 24? And so you pulling it over to cover, in 25, you pulling over to cover the closeout of FY 24.
No, this is directly related to 25's budget. Was that clear? Do you understand me?
So explain it again then, because I misunderstood you when you, before your voice. So what is this $40,000?
So the $40,000 encompasses 49 grand for workman's comp, the copiers.
So is these numbers back here rolled up to 40,000? Is that what you're
That's
saying?
correct. That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Is there further discussion on resolution 77-24?
I don't know why, but I'm trying.
Council President McDonald, you have
Yes.
another? Okay.
I'm trying to get some money for Officer Coleman and this part-time opportunity that he is doing. I'm just saying. So the question was, ask the treasurer, or the implication, or, ask the treasurer. So I'm just putting that out there because it still doesn't set too well with me that he's working and not getting paid for it.
I support your concerns. We're gonna have a conversation a little bit later. Let's revisit it after that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. If there's no further discussion on resolution 77-24, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Abstain.
Councilmember Brownson,
No.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
No.
Councilmember Noble,
No.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
3 yeses, 3 nos, 1 abstention. The motion fails.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we'll have Resolution 78-24. This is a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the Town of Forest Heights, Maryland, approving the appointment of an Ethics Commissioner. I move that we adopt Resolution 78-24. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 78-24. Discussion. And this is a resolution that's been drafted because we had a resignation, and so we are replacing one of the members on that board. And we need 3 members, and this is appointing this member as the commission chair unless they elect a new one. Is there any other item, any other note to add to this resolution from staff before I open to council? All right, Councilmember Noble.
Question, because I see now Monica Lawson is the chairperson, so this new member will be the chairperson?
Yes, unless the commission selects a new chair.
Okay, so they'll go in as the chair, based on this resolution.
Yes.
And the other question is, how often does the Ethics Commission meet?
Mr.
What
O'Connor,
is
can you
their
answer?
schedule?
Or can you tell us the last time they met or when they will be meeting next, if that date is known?
I don't have a date that they will be meeting. I know they meet as necessary to review any ethics complaints that may come in, and they review the ethics disclosure forms. But related to the necessity of meeting, I defer to Mr. Best on that one related to the charter.
Mr. Best?
I don't believe there's any legal meeting requirement. They have to meet at least once a year. They have to do a report to the State Ethics Commission in October, and they have to review the disclosure form. So it's typically at least one meeting a year. It's been a few years, I think prior to COVID, since there'd been an ethics complaint. And I think in the history, in the recent history in 10 years or so, a dozen years, there's only been 2 or 3 ethics complaints that the body has had, this ethics body has had to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Best.
Sure.
Councilmember Noble. I'll go to Councilmember Brownson, then Councilmember Noble.
You got Councilwoman Hines, her hand was.
Oh, my apologies. Well, thank you for letting me know. Councilmember Hines, and then Councilmember Brownson, then Councilmember Noble.
Just have a question. How are the candidates? I mean, how do you get the candidates that,
How they're selected.
yeah, how are they selected?
Oh, candidates applied.
And how was it put out there that you,
It was advertised on message boards, and it was also advertised, I believe, here at the town building as well. Councilmember Brownson, and I also see Councilmember Kennedy's hand raised as well.
I know it's probably, you're gonna say it was a courtesy, but in the past, the ethics members that came, that we voted on came before, at least introduced themselves to the council. Again, we voted on something in the blind. Well, if we have to vote, maybe we don't have to vote, but I mean, we selecting someone for a position, there's no introduction or nothing. So, I don't even know whether it's necessary, but I just say in the past, it has been.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. I'm going to go to Councilmember Noble and Councilmember Kennedy, and then Council President. Councilmember Noble?
So we haven't had any complaints, so who has filed these reports? Who filed the report October 2024?
So there's been no disclosure forms filed by sitting members of the council from the clerk that are on record, and no forms have been reviewed. However, to remedy that, the clerk has passed out the disclosure forms to be filled out. And once this appointment's made, we'll be able to have a quorum. They'll review it and send it up to the Ethics Commission.
And this person will be sworn in, will take an oath.
They have to, yes.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes, from what I'm understanding, Ms. Lawson was the ethic chairperson. So was she informed or talked to see if she was still the chair, or was she just told that she is not? And how does this process work insofar as the communication?
Mr. O'Connor.
So actually, Ms. Chisholm spoke with Ms. Lawson. We got connected via email. Ms. Lawson actually is a holdover right now. The way the resolution reads is that they remain until a successor is appointed to that position. So Ms. Lawson did state that she at this time does not have a problem continuing. However, we do have several other applications, and I believe she mentioned that there's other people that may want to sit on that, the ethics board. But basically, she was a holdover for this. I don't believe any discussion was had whether she wants to remain chair or not, but we're replacing the chair position, which is just basically her being held over. The board, once they convene, has the right to change that up however they want, if they want to change somebody as chair. So I think we would leave it to them to decide amongst themselves who would be chair if Ms. Lawson wants to be chair again. So they can have a good working relationship on that part.
Okay, I just want to make sure the communication is there, because unfortunately it's not always there.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy.
Okay.
Yes, I'd ask Ms. Lawson as well, just to call and check in with her. Council President McDonald.
Yes, I just want to point out to council, according to Article 14, Town Public Ethics Ordinance 14.3, Section B5, the commission shall conduct a public information program regarding the purposes and application of this article. So 2 things. One is, do we have a public information program in place for this?
No, because the Ethics Commission hasn't met. So it's their responsibility to do it. We would assist them.
And the town attorney is the advisor.
He would be the advisor. And if it was necessary, if an ethics provision came up, whoever the ethics provision was there against would retain their own counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Are there any, I see Councilmember Kennedy's hand back up. Councilmember Kennedy.
For clarification, I believe we were just informed that there were no ethics complaints filed. And if memory serves me correctly, there was one filed.
Councilmember Kennedy, did you want to ask a question to Mr. Best on that?
Well, I just want to set the record straight because we hear some stuff, and I just want it to be, if we're going to communicate, I want full transparency. I don't want any smokes and mirrors or any BS.
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Councilmember.
There was a complaint filed in October. So we can talk offline about that, but I just want to put it on record that there was an ethics complaint filed.
If I'm remembering correctly, I don't believe that was an ethics complaint. I think that was a personnel matter. Is that what you're referring to?
Okay, so I guess the form was filed, but, okay. Thank you.
I never received staff never received anything for the ethics complaint to the Ethics Commission. I don't know what the council member is referring to, but we could look.
Okay. So I'd like to ask council, I know this is on the agenda for action tonight. I heard a couple suggestions of having the candidate come to the meeting if that's been a practice in the past. Is that the general consensus of what council would like to do? If so, we can consider looking at this the first meeting in January. I hear a yes. Think Council President, did you say yes? About having the candidate come and Councilmember Brownson? Okay. This is having the person who's going to be added to the ethics board come before the council. Okay. Well, I will withdraw the motion to adopt, and I move that we postpone this resolution until the first meeting in January. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we postpone resolution 7824 to January, and then we invite the candidate to come before the council. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there
Aye.
any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the ayes have it. Okay, next we'll move to resolution 79-24. This is a resolution of the mayor and council of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland, approving the quarterly distribution of the town newsletter. Is there a motion to adopt resolution 79-24? I'll entertain a motion if there's one.
I'll second so we can discuss it.
Well, I didn't make the motion. I was offering the motion to be made if someone wants to do so. I remember this came from discussion from the last meeting.
I make a motion. You need to make a motion?
Is there a second? Yes, you can make a motion if you choose to adopt.
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 7924, town newsletter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution 79-24. Discussion. I'll do a brief overview. Resolution 79-24 came from discussion in the last council meeting, and also that's from council members and then also from staff about the fact that there are many costs involved in distributing the newsletter physically every month. This resolution is here to talk through the possibility of moving to quarterly and what some of that would entail. With that, I'll turn it over to discussion. I think I saw Councilmember Noble.
Yes. I see in the fourth whereas, if this resolution is not passed, mailing of the town newsletter will cease beginning January 2024, or we mean 2025. I guess the newsletter hasn't been mailed, maybe one time, but I see Public Works or somebody else putting it in the mailbox, but not the Postal Service. So that was number one. And number two, to start a quarterly newsletter, we have some residents who rely on the newsletter monthly. So to abruptly change something, I don't think that it's a bad idea. I think the timing, it has to be time, because we have still a population of people who rely on paper, seeing it monthly, relying on it monthly. They can't go to the internet. They can only rely on that newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. Councilmember Brownson.
If I remember the discussion about the quarterly newsletter, I thought we were gonna wait until we had other means of communicating the information to the residents. We thought we were gonna have an information line. The website was gonna be up with the news. There were gonna be alerts going out, and there were gonna be other means that they would get their information. No, none of those things are effective right now. And plus, the residents should have a say in at least hear about this, other than just throwing it at them. And just, I would say, get some of their feedback as well. So I don't think the timing is right for this. I think we need to make sure that there are other forms of communication to the residents before this is implemented.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Council President McDonald.
Okay, so we had discussed it in terms of what would be the most efficient way to get information out. I think all of what we've talked about in terms of our mediums and how we get information out, the updating of the website, all of that stuff was talked about. So those are the things that are in the pipeline. The way that we get the information out or utilizing our mediums is going to be helpful to getting the information out to our residents. Now, no, we don't want to just spring it on them, because I think we did talk about a communication strategy on letting residents know that this is what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the benefit to the town. So no, we shouldn't just cut it off. I agree. But in terms of the efficiency and the use of the newsletter, we're reiterating in the newsletter some of the same items over and over and over again. There's not anything that new that we're communicating out. So those items or hot topics that we might have that we want to communicate would go out on those mediums, right? So this is, again, looking at the budget is the reason why we're even entertaining this. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Hines, and I see Councilmember Kennedy's hand raised as well.
Okay, I just want to not piggyback, but I would like to, that's a good suggestion that Councilwoman Brownson made, that some type of way we need to either do an assessment letter or whatever it is, where you send it out to everyone in the resident, so that they can give their feedback in some type of way, because there are a lot of seniors that don't have computers. And so you're saying quarterly that you're going to now start, they read that newsletter when they can. That's the only way they get the information. So if we can maybe think about getting our residents' input, that would kind of help with me.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Councilmember Kennedy.
Have we agreed to not do a December newsletter?
Mr. O'Connor.
No, there was no agreement not to do a December newsletter. However, we can't print because we don't have the money in the budget for the newsletter to buy all the paper. Plus, we're waiting on the toner. So the issue surrounding this is purely monetary. The budget line item for the newsletter was $4,000. We have a newsletter ready to go for December, but we're trying to figure out the best way to get that going. But the budget line item is $4,000. We've said it multiple times that, we're going to go through that. There was options that were brought up before for free that would allow us to carry through. We don't have the money in the line item for the newsletter. The actual expenses for the newsletter are anywhere from, $20,000 to $25,000 a year, and we have $4,000 in there. There's no real other place in the budget to take it from. We're trying to figure out right now how to balance the recurring costs of employees and police officers, and trying to balance that with the newsletter, getting the website continued up and running, which is almost done, and finding other means of doing it. So some of these budget amendments that came forward were important to get done because we need to bring other budget amendments forward if we're able to find the money.
Okay,
So it really comes down to dollars and cents. We would need to find money to go ahead and put into the budget line item. If the newsletter is quarterly, at least temporarily while we're doing this, if we offset it, we can manage to continue to get a newsletter out that's robust. And if we need to do something in the meantime, we can do single page mailers or updates to the residents that aren't as cost prohibitive.
okay. So, couple things. If we had to get something out single page, that would be more money and time also. We got a nice new copier, bigger copier, but did we factor that in? I mean, we knew that what the line item was for newsletter, you know, but yet we bought a bigger machine that should be able to handle it. But if that's the case, we might not have got a bigger machine and get locked into a new contract if we're not going to utilize it for the purpose of what we got it for. Also, as some of my fellow council members stated, you know, there are residents that rely on this. You know, we might have new residents that have moved in that we, you know, may not know they're new. So the newsletter is something that's valuable, even something as simple as, you know, the calendar that shows the trash schedule. And lastly, since we do have an election coming up and we're literally at the end of this year, why not just put it on the ballot and let the residents decide if they want to go to a quarterly newsletter?
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. I would add to the discussion that I do believe there is a gulf between those who get text alerts and those who are very email savvy and use their phones and technology to get information from the town. And there's another set of our residents who don't. I'm not sure how we reach that gulf. And I am concerned about how to transition.
So there is, I'm sorry, I do have one.
And I don't know if in Forsyth's, you know, every town's different and unique. I don't know if just 1 second, Councilmember. So I don't know if we're going to be able to totally stop delivering the newsletter every month. We may have to think about a model where maybe we have a list of people who decide to opt out. We did have a proposal before where the newsletter can be printed for us. It would have local business ads in it. We would have control over the ads that go into it. So if there's something we object to, we can take it out. We would get a preview of the newsletter before it's sent out. And it does not have a direct cost to the town. It allows us to continue to send it out monthly as long as we get the newsletter content together. It also includes templates that help us build and design it easily with less manpower. And so that would take away the staff working on printing it and then bundling it. They would deliver it to us. And some of the municipalities in this area have signed on to use it. And then some municipalities outside of the area, for example, in New Jersey, have used it. And we've seen a sample of what that looks like. We do have, and one of the things too, we had a commitment to get it in English and in Spanish to serve the totality of the community. So given that we're at an impasse that's seems like it's centered on finance, I think we should consider that alternative again, because I don't think we'll get to a place where we can't deliver a newsletter physically just because of our unique community. Councilmember Noble?
Actually, I had one quick
I'm
comment.
talking now. Robert's
Just
rules.
just one moment, Councilmember Kennedy. I am going to come back to you after I get a new person who hasn't spoken on this yet. Thank you.
Just on the newsletter, I talked to some residents who have received the newsletter more than 20 years. And one thing they said they would like to see are those resolutions that are passed in meetings. So that's one option. And we may need to look at this vendor again. And maybe if we could see some local newsletters from Prince George's County that they may do for other municipalities. And then the last thing is, it is like a survey. So if you put it on the ballot, we don't have enough people that come out to vote. that doesn't really represent the people in the town. So we have to find a way to find out who needs a physical newsletter. It may be a limited number, but we don't know that. Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
All right, so in that scenario, I know we had talked about it and creating a list. So it might be easier at this junction to find out who don't want a physical copy versus who does. Also, if we do the newsletter in black and white, color copies cost noticeably more than black and white copies. So if we put them back in black and white, then that should save us a noticeable amount just in the printing cost. And I actually had a resident text me, and they actually had a very good point. Most students still need community service hours. Maybe we might be able to utilize some of them possibly to help distribute them, and that would also help bring down costs. And they can also gain the community service hours that they need. Just a thought.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Council President McDonald.
I think what I would like to see is a price comparison between utilizing LPI and what we're currently spending. I know one of the issues with the vendor was our options to withdraw and what that would cost us. So if we could highlight that, if we're going to revisit it, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Well, so withdrawing, there wasn't a cost. There was a timeline, I believe, involved to unwind the agreement because since they pay the cost of printing, it takes a while for them to wind down. But there's not a cost associated with if we decided to end the agreement. And to your other point, we're building partnerships with the schools. And specifically, this is slightly off topic, but our youth ambassador was able to connect us with Oxon Hill High School and the fact that they were giving out gifts in excess this year. So I think we have maybe an opportunity to engage some of the high schools. We have a relationship with Potomac High School as well to see if there's our young people in the town who maybe can help us distribute as part of community service hours. Mr. O'Connor, did you have something to add on the cost comparison?
Yeah, so the cost comparison is free versus roughly 25,000. LPI is not going to charge us. Unless we cut it off within 3 months of the actual contract, which is like a spin up time. So we just have to wait 6 months and they spin it down, but we're not going to pay LPI for any of this support because it's all done through the advertising. So I spoke in depth with them previously when it was brought back up. They aim to keep it free and make it business sponsored, and then all the businesses in the area. The second point, Mayor, the I Can Do, which is inexpensive, and have DPW deliver it, which is a survey to every home that basically says, do you want to receive the newsletter? Would you prefer it electronically? And then at the same time, I can say, would you please provide us with your email, which will help us also establish a better database, and then also say, can you please provide us with your telephone number for text alerts? So if they return it to us, we can see the level of interest there. We're already doing election mailers now. It can be black and white, to Councilmember Kennedy's point, and it'll cost us barely nothing to get that out and get that going. So at least we can start that process.
And well, also I would add to that the option to withdraw from receiving a physical newsletter can be maybe a component in the newsletter itself and the text alerts. If that goes out in every version that we put out, people who move into the town new or who haven't read the last one can continue to get an option if they decide they want to enroll in the electronic alerts and receive an electronic version. I'm going to go to Councilmember Kennedy because I know his hand is up. Councilmember Kennedy.
Sorry, forgot to put the hand down.
Okay. Councilmember Hines.
I want to make a statement. There are some residents that don't have cell phones. They still have landline. They don't have email addresses. So I still say that the old school, by getting, some type of survey out and finding out, the information. But yeah, there's a lot of residents that are older that don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. Council President McDonald?
Just one clarifying question. How often is it distributed?
For LPI,
Mm-hmm.
we can do it monthly.
And the agreement. If we revisit this, the agreement would be included in the discussion.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I would have to get an updated agreement.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And the phone line that council brought up last time with the pertinent information is almost set up. We just got to get the scripts done. And for the AI scripts or the whatever voice it is that you hit, so you can hit the buttons, and then we'll be able to put in the pertinent information. But another portion of that resolution, which I think was important that council brought up, was the news letter committee. It actually already existed. So there was no need to create one. And I think one of the things in there was basically saying, we need to get the committee together. You know, it's here, let's do that. So I think that would help in a lot of this. And if you want me to rework that entire resolution just to focus on the committee, I can, or whatever direction I get for whoever's going to be on the committee, if it's an appointment resolution, however it works itself out, but I can just rework it.
Council Member Noble?
On that note, if it's a committee, I think it should be a volunteer committee, volunteer newsletter committee. You know, because people go, I mean, we had one person on Cree, she did a mock-up newsletter. So she was very much interested in doing it. So we have people in the town. I've done a newsletter. So, you know, we have people, but we need other people, not just the same people.
Thank you, Councilmember Noble. I'll add that, yeah, I would entertain people who have an interest. I know that resident you're talking about, and remember that version that she provided that showed she really had thought about it, what goes into it, and that it's readable and that it covers a lot of different points. And it gives us an opportunity to bring in different viewpoints, different people with different thoughts about what they want to see from it, and then represent the community. Mr. O'Connor, you have something to add, sir?
If you would like, I will put an announcement on the 2 signboards that says newsletter committee, please email town clerk, same application. And then at the same time, I can send out a text alert. And then of course we can put it out any other means, but we got good reception to it being advertised there for the Ethics Commission. So I can put that up there and start that process.
Okay. Councilmember Brownson.
Before we do that, don't we have to do the resolution to establish the committee?
No, the committee actually already exists. And
Yes.
so, well, the language for the committee exists already. Yes. So this resolution was more so focused on moving to the quarterly distribution.
No, I'm talking about the resolution to have the committee for the new newsletter thing. He said the resolution already exists.
It's already in the charter. There's a newsletter committee. I pointed it out, the section in the actual resolution. So I went to Ecode 360, pulled it up, and there's a list of various committees that already exist. And the newsletter committee happened to be one.
But it's not formed.
No, that was the discussion we were having about advertising for the people to put their applications in to be a part of the committee. And then the resolution would come from those applicants.
With
Yeah.
names and stuff.
Yep, yes,
Okay,
yes.
gotcha.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownson. Okay, so on this resolution, we need some changes and some other items that I think we've got listed as consideration. So I move that we postpone. Or actually, on this one, do we need to postpone? It sounds like it may have changed. There's a motion on the floor to adopt. But I didn't make the motion. You did, and it was seconded by Councilmember Kennedy. Do you wish to make a motion to withdraw? Or withdraw?
Okay. I make a motion that that we withdraw resolution 79-24 town newsletter.
It has been moved and seconded that we withdraw the motion to adopt resolution 79-24. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so now I will move that we postpone resolution 79-24 until, how much time do we need to bring the information back? Will we be prepared next meeting, or will that be just to an indefinite date in the future?
I, I yield.
Okay, did I get a second? So we're in discussion. Okay. This is about, I'm trying to figure out when we need to, if we need to, yeah. Okay, so I move that we postpone resolution 79-24 until a date yet to be determined, to a date in the future, an undetermined date in the future. Discussion?
If that be the case, then how long are residents not
Actually,
gonna have?
My apologies. Did you
newsletter?
second it? I think I need a second. Okay, I need a second on the, on to
Point of order,
an
Mr. Mayor.
indefinite date.
There's two motions on the floor.
Yes, sir.
So we need to finish one, which is the motion to withdraw. We
We
need to
did.
vote.
We
We
had,
have the vote. Okay.
the yeas had that vote.
Okay, good. So we're there, we're good there. And then now, who made the motion to postpone until?
I was making the motion and trying to figure out if we need an indefinite date or if we need
Okay, all right. So yeah,
a date and time
thank you.
to revisit this.
Thank you.
And it sounds like did we need a date and time to revisit? It's not going to be next meeting.
And no, my inquiry is, if we're postponing, how long is it gonna be that residents not have a
Oh,
newsletter?
good question. Mr. O'Connor, can we get we need to find a way to get the next few newsletters out, because we've got to find out if we're going to, we've got a couple options on the table. One was to continue to deliver it and then use a vendor to do so, which seems like it might work because we need to find out who's going to get it and not get it physically, and then also send out the information about text alerts. Council
Well,
President.
I think also too, in the newsletter that we're gonna be sending out, that we should perhaps put in there something to the effect of our entertaining a different way of communicating in terms, some language that would, alert the residents of this new coming perhaps newsletter.
Well, so the thing is, I think we got conversation that we may go to quarterly, but we think we need to continue to deliver physically and let people take the option to not get it just because we can't get the golf. If we do quarterly, we're going to miss people who won't ever get on a phone or on a email to get it. They would be monthly, but we still have to approve the agreement. Yeah, we got to get there first. And then also use it to get people to start giving us their information and then let us know if they want the newsletter or not, to reduce the physical output. Who's first? Councilmember Noble.
Suggestion, Mr. O'Connor, you said you wanted to do a one-page. If you're in, can we get that in the December newsletter, or is it too late? He just
Yeah,
said
we
that.
can get it, we can get the December one
Hasn't
out
been
and have it delivered, and we can put the insert in there. Because we're still mailing other things that have to go out. So we have tons of mailers, so.
Because I
That's
think
not-
that way we'll get maybe some feedback. Thank you.
Councilmember Brownson.
I remember Mr. Frankenfield said we save money on salaries. So that money we saved on salaries, can we allocate some money to the newsletter so we can get it printed?
No,
Or just a moment, Mr. O'Connor, or if we were going to use some funds from savings, I think this is a good use to continue to get information out and serve and inform the community until we find a long-term solution. That's an item where we need to do that, and we need to continue that. So I think that's an area where we need to look at pulling from savings to do that, so we can get to a firm foundation. Because we've got information, we have events, we have elections. So we're going to have to continue to put information out as it stands. We may need to modify how we're going to do that, but this is an area where we can't bring that to a halt because we, as a government, we have a responsibility to keep people informed, and we can't abruptly just stop.
We just recently got, and it wasn't fully awarded at the time when this resolution was written, was the project charge for community programming. So it's very likely that since this is community and it will have community programming in it, that it would be able to fall within that. So we'll explore whatever options we can to continue to get the message out. You know, we do have events that are going in there. I'll work with Mr. Holland to have his message crafted into the newsletter as well. So there's things that we can do, but you know, that it's, we'll figure it out.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. So just a moment, Council President. So on the discussion about this resolution, do we need to just let this one go to the table, or do we need to bring it back at a future date?
Yeah, I would just table it, Mayor, because it's going to be a whole new resolution at that
Yeah.
point. And we can just throw it in as a tabled resolution and keep our sequence going appropriately.
Thank you. Council President, we withdrew the motion to adopt it, but we need to determine formally if we're going to bring it back or not. So we weren't going to adopt it tonight, but even with changes, it's going to change substantially to where we won't be bringing it back in its current form. Council President, I know I'll give you the floor now, if you have something to add.
Anything about money being moved around, I want Mr. Coleman's ombudsman opportunity to be still on the books, or this, included in any discussion with money being moved around. So that's one thing I wanted to say. This here, this right here is not coming back. This motion here is not coming back.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Mr. O'Connor?
related to Officer Coleman, there's a myriad of administrative ways that his duties can be handled between the chief and I, reference to grant funding that we have for overtime. If it's a collateral duty that he's going to work on overtime based on when he's doing it, it's not during. So there are other ways that he can be compensated versus just a straight out adjustment, which is well within the budgets that's already established. So we can work with that. So I'm sure the chief and I will handle that. And if that doesn't work, we'll bring something else back.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Next on our agenda, is a closed session. All right. The statutory authority to close this meeting is from the general provisions of Article subsection 3-305B. And the reason for this evening's closed session would be to discuss public safety. If the public body determines that public discussion would constitute a risk to the public or public security, including the deployment of fire and police services and staff, and the development and implementation of emergency plans. And number 14, before a contract is awarded or bids are open, to discuss a matter directly related to negotiating strategy or the contents of a bid proposal, if public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process. Under these proposed items, the reason for the closed session for the first reason under public safety is the deployment of fire and police services, which involves strategically realigning resources, efficient emergency response, and efficient coverage of communities. And then under contracts, discussion of a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy or the contents of a bid or proposal. So I move that we go into a closed session for the reasons mentioned previously. Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded that we go into closed session under the general provisions of Article subsection 3-305B for reasons 10, public safety, and reason 14, contracts, for the reasons stated. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Brownson,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Noble,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Mayor Lily,
Yes.
unanimous. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. To members of the public and those who are in the auditorium at this time, council will now go into closed session. We will return to open session, and you're welcome to wait online until we return to open session. If you do not return, we wish you a happy holidays, safe, and that you enjoy this time with your family and loved ones, and we will see you in 2025. But you're more than welcome to wait until we return. All right. This meeting is now closed.